Have you ever wondered how successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and investors can get so much accomplished in one day, and yet the average person struggles, works hard, is very busy, and still accomplishes very little, or even worse, nothing at all? Hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm the founder of Care and your real wealth coach. Today, I have the privilege and honor of being joined by my friend Dana. Now, Dana is a certified professional coach, mentor, trainer, speaker, and heart centered service entrepreneur. You know, one of the many things I love about Dana and the amazing work that she does in the world is that she supports and empowers creatives, visionaries, and heart centered service entrepreneurs live their legend and become the fullest expression of who they really are. If you struggle to stay focused, this training is for you. If you want to learn how to become extremely productive, this is for you. If you want to ensure that your own priorities and growth are taking a front seat, then you do not want to miss today's lesson. You see, in today's lesson, you are going to discover what you need to stop doing so that you can focus on what truly matters. Are you ready to harness the power of your focus? All right, let's dive into today's lesson.
This is a session around prioritizing your commitments, making the most of the time that you've got, and is around the book by Greg McKeown, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. So I was going to start with the rhetorical question, which is, what trips otherwise capable people to reach their next level of success? Or what stops otherwise successful people to break to their next level, whatever that might be within the context that they're operating? And let's start it off with a quick brainstorm. I mean, we could both throw out ideas in terms of like what we think are the things that trips people off.
Okay, sure. So for me, what I think holds people back is their belief system, right? So there's something that I teach called a success cycle. So which is basically, if you're looking at a circle, at the top we're born with unlimited potential, and then as we go throughout life, we take action. With every action we take, that delivers a result. Now, based on that result, that's going to affect our belief system or our confidence level, which then in turn affects our potential, right? So if we go out, take action, get a great result, that boosts our confidence, boosts our belief system in ourselves, and then our potential grows. But conversely, that same cycle, if you take action, get a bad result, that will affect your belief system, lower your confidence level, ultimately affecting your potential, which then that's where I think the main holdup or the setbacks are, right? Because fear kicks in, you don't want to fail again, that sort of thing. So that's what I believe is the biggest factor.
And that's a great one, because it actually captures, it's almost like a summary of the key things, because you mentioned confidence, which is getting out of your comfort zone and taking action and doing things, actually implementing or practicing things, practicing the theory of the things that you think might work. So taking an idea from its concept to putting it to practice. So confidence. And then you said fear. So there are so many types of fears: fears of success, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough or not blank enough. And then you also said belief system. So belief system, what do you mean by belief system? So I don't put words in your mouth.
Yeah. So just basically the events in your life determine your belief system, right? And your environment and the people you learn from and people you're surrounded by, that can impact your internal belief system. So you could also think of it as your unconscious mind, which ultimately runs the show, right? So I know a lot of people, myself included, especially very early on in life, we believed certain things that were taught to us that were not actually true. And so then that tends to hinder our ability to grow and push through and maximize our potential.
I love that. So belief system is very much up there as well. And I think mindset
Mm-hmm.
also can be one of the things. So the mindset based, as you said, based on the events and the practices that you take, also determine your mindset or the beliefs that you have.
That's right.
And different people have different mindsets, the way they approach things.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Great. So we'll come back to this question, but it's great to just brainstorm and think on what really trips us off from reaching our full potential, or from playing full out, or moving to the next level of whatever we want to achieve. And I have a great quote by Peter Drucker, and according to him, he says, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all."
Right. Great quote.
So
Yeah.
does this resonate with you? And if it does, what comes up for you when you hear this quote?
Well, my first initial thought was something very similar, right? And that's where, because in business and real estate, we talk a lot about leverage and systemizing things to simplify the process and to gain freedom within our companies. However, if you're creating a system that's not very effective, then you've essentially created a bad system, right? So that's what comes to mind. So you want to first work through the challenges within the system, test it, tweak it, improve upon it, make it better, and then systemize it. Where I know a lot of real estate investors and entrepreneurs, they systemize something that's not the most effective for their business or their goals or dreams. So, yeah.
That's spot on. Sometimes we can be so efficient and appear really busy from the outside in, but we're actually focusing on things that don't really matter.
That's
So
right.
what do you need to stop doing so you can focus on the good stuff, on things that really matter? So the next thing that I want to talk about is that the fact that we all operate under the same 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and yet some of us manage to increase our results with less effort, less stress, and in less time. And other people, their main holdback or the main excuse is they haven't got the time.
Right.
So what's the difference that makes the difference?
Well, for me, I believe to sum it up in 2 words, first word is leverage and second word is delegation. So that's what comes to mind for me. It's all about leveraging the strengths of other people and then delegating certain tasks to those individuals that are better at those tasks than you are. That then frees up your time to focus on your strengths, your goals, your desires, and the things that you enjoy doing. And once you have that set up, it becomes very liberating. And that's when you can then buy back your time. And I believe that amazing, successful entrepreneurs and investors, that's exactly how they do it.
So. Exactly. So again, spot on.
Perfect.
Is the leverage, and especially because you are you're an entrepreneur who runs, your own company, you run several businesses, so you have a team. But if we strip it even further down to at individual level, let's say you're just one person who does everything, or maybe you're a beginner entrepreneur where you're just starting out, so therefore you haven't got a team. You are the person who does everything. So then when we take it to the basic level, it's the key, the difference that makes the difference is what do you stop doing, or what are the things that you need to stop doing so you can fully focus on the things that would really move you forward towards what you want to achieve. Just starting with that, and that applies to everything from mindset, belief system, key activities. So you can do it on the being level as well as the doing level, as the activities that you need to practice or the systems that you need to implement to help you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that for me is key in before everything else in mastering this is your ability to completely focus, especially in the age that we live right now and in our society. So we're constantly being pulled out in 1,000 different directions by so many competing priorities that are competing on our time, our attention, demanding of ourselves on a daily basis. So I have a piece of research that was done by the Carnegie Mellon University, and they had this human-computer interaction lab. And what they've discovered once they've run their little research was that the average person is getting distracted every 3 minutes. But
Wow.
it takes an average of 25 minutes for them to return to the original task after each interruption.
Right.
So it's almost like we live in a world where we're constantly plugged in, whether
Mm-hmm.
this is email, phone calls, messages via the social media, or just the colleagues, anyone that stops by your desk and just say, oh, have you got a minute? Or, can I run this by you? And then each of that interruption that happens every 3 minutes takes away 25 minutes of your time for you to get back to that complete focus and getting back to the original task that you're doing. So then what should you focus on? That's another question. One is the ability to focus, but then once, let's say you've mastered the ability to focus, the next question is, what should you focus on? Because there are so many things right now
Mm-hmm.
that seems all vital, like everything seems important. We want to do everything by yesterday, and we want to do it all, and we want to do it fast and efficient and good quality. How do you choose your focus, Jeff? How do you choose what to focus on?
Yeah. So this I think is a very powerful question, and certainly a key topic for, I think, for just about everybody in today's society, right? And focus is certainly key, but it's interesting to learn the data behind it. Every 3 minutes we're being distracted, which then takes away 25% or 25 minutes to regain that focus, right?
Yeah.
So when you multiply that out, that's a lot of wasted time.
Hmm.
So for me, one of the things that I work diligently at is creating a work environment that does not distract me, that does not disrupt my focus.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, in my email inbox, I have an automated response. So when I get an email, it responds automatically, letting them know that I've received it, and I'll return the email in a priority sequence. That way I don't have to check my inbox all the time. So again, that eliminates a distraction. Another thing I like to do is when I'm working on a key task is to plan out my week. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'll block out specific chunks of time where I'm not interrupted. My cell phone's off, social media is off, that sort of thing. And I just have uninterrupted time to focus. So those are a couple of the things that I do to keep myself on task. And then as far as really determining what areas to focus on, for me personally, what I like to do, because again, you want to grow and scale your business, but at the same point in time, you want the freedom and you want it to be as enjoyable as possible. So
Certainly.
I really sat through years ago and thought about, okay, what 3 areas within my business do I love doing or enjoy doing, number one, and that I'm good at.
Yeah.
And so I focus on those 3 key areas, and everything else I delegate out to a member of my team that are better at those tasks than I am. So, and I found that's really helped me.
And that's again coming back full circle, playing to your strength.
Right.
So you don't have to do things that are not within your strength. You could always delegate those to the other people that could do them more efficiently much faster and better than you, rather than you trying to learn those. So playing to your gifts and competencies. So
Mhm.
yeah, I love that, because the ability to focus comes from the ability to have that me time, or creating the environment that helps you fully focus.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I love to call it like a bliss station. And the idea of the bliss station is a place, or a time. It could be a time of a day or a place or an environment completely could unplug or disconnect to be fully focused on the things or the tasks that you're doing at hand.
Mhm.
And that's what you already said. So either
Yeah.
letting everyone know beforehand that during that time you're not to be disturbed, maybe switching off anything that might be a distraction, or minimizing your distraction to as much as possible, and then focusing on your top 3 priorities. I know that it would be ideal if you could just have like one main priority and then gray everything out. But I think in our age, getting it down to 3 priorities can be challenging enough. So the fact that you've got to down to 3 priorities can really help. So first, identifying those 3 priorities that matter the most among all of your competing ones. And once you found those, graying everything out or delegating those. So if you've got a team, you could delegate them. If you're a one-man show or one-woman show, you could just gray them out for now. So that doesn't mean that you're not going to do them, but for the period of time that you've chosen, these are the 3 priorities that you're focusing on. So everything else comes second.
Right.
On a practical level, so I've got like I love to take every theory or concept and make it really practical so we can apply it straight away. So on
Yes.
the practical level, what I like to do is to look at my calendar, let's say for a week. So let's say I've been doing really well, but then I lapse and then I lose my focus. So I overcommit, I get overwhelmed, and suddenly I become very busy. So if that happens, then the first thing that I do is pause, take my calendar and maybe look at my last week or look at my last month, and then consider what are the things, or what are some of the commitments that I should have said no to.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. A saying I heard when you say that, it reminds me, every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else.
Leverage.
Right, right. And so when you put it into that perspective, it really makes you consider, should I be doing this? Right. And that's where I check in with, is it part of my 3 key areas of focus? And if not, the answer is no.
Definitely.
So that really helps keep me on track.
So it's a great practice. And I
Mhm.
mean, we're humans, so we all lapse. Nobody's perfect. So no matter how good of a system you've got in place, time to time, you tend to overcommit, because the more successful you become, success actually, it's one of the things that hold otherwise capable people back. Because when you first become successful, you're very focused on the few things that you want to do. But once you've reached that level of success, you notice more opportunities. You notice more, more people, more things around you, and they all demand your attention. And then that when it comes to kind of the ability to choose the things that are really aligned with your long-term focus or vision or mission, whatever you want to create long term, and then aligning that. It's almost like, if I say yes to this, am I getting closer towards what I want to create long term? Is that taking me closer towards what I'm creating, or is that taking me away from it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very simple then to make decisions based on that. The
Hmm.
decision making becomes much easier. So looking at your calendar and then looking at things that maybe you shouldn't have done, or like you should have said no to, or noticing things that kept you busy, but they weren't really that important. So things on your calendar that if I were to observe you last week or last month, I would say, wow, this guy is so busy. But then when I was to kind of delve deeper in terms of like, okay, but as a result, were you getting closer towards what you wanted to create, or were you actually drifting away from it? Because sometimes we can be really busy and efficient with
Right.
stuff that shouldn't have been done at all. You shouldn't be doing that anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And that reminds me of, what gets measured gets managed, right? So
Definitely.
checking in and looking back. And another thing that, as you're speaking, I'm kind of reflecting back on my progress throughout entrepreneurship and starting my businesses and growing and scaling. And I find that in the beginning, when you're a new investor, an entrepreneur, or a business owner, uh, one of the focuses tends to be looking for the opportunity, the next big opportunity, and preparing yourself to seize that moment. And then when you hit a certain level of success, you see opportunity everywhere. And so what was once a benefit to you, finding those opportunities, can, if you're not careful, doing what you said, checking in and monitoring, the opportunity can quickly turn into an obstacle, right? Which is creating the busyness and the distraction from the ultimate end goal.
Definitely.
So, and that was definitely something I had to work through and continue to work on as I grow and scale my business. So yeah, I love checking back in and documenting what you're doing so that you can efficiently monitor it and make sure that the tasks you're taking on, for me, fall into those three key areas of focus, but are also taking you closer to your end goal, which is very, very powerful.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's the same for me. So when I started as an entrepreneur running my own coaching practice,
Mm-hmm.
I was saying yes to every opportunity
Yep.
because that's how I believed I would grow my business. So every single door that would open, I would say yes. Every opportunity that come my way, I would say yes, yes, yes. And that's how I grew. But as my coaching practice grew, then I realized that this strategy was no longer working for me.
Right.
Because I reached a certain level that I was just plateauing. I wasn't able to move any further. I was just staying afloat,
Mm-hmm.
treading water. So then what worked for me and got me to that level was no longer working. And the new strategy that I had to put in place was actually saying no to most of the things that were coming my way and being really choosy and picky and selecting the right opportunities that were really going to help me leap forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So the same thing applies like on a practical level. So it's not just the calendar, but it's also like your ideas list, your commitments list, your meetings list, and your prospect list. So for example, sometimes you may have several meetings. What if you didn't have to attend all of them? What if you had to say, if I say, yes to this meeting, what am I saying no to? And then you only choose the meeting that would really kind of benefit from you attending it and you add value the most rather than being, in every single meeting. And the same, like if you have a prospecting list, I mean, there are periods when you have a lot of prospects coming your way through your funnel or through your leads or through referrals. And as much as you'd like to give every single one your attention, sometimes you can't, or sometimes that's not possible. And again, it's the same, looking at your prospect list and finding a way of spending the right time with the right prospects that you'd know would generate those connections, those creative collaborations that would move your business, your practice, whatever you're creating forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
brilliant.
I love it. Yeah.
So then I have another quote. This one is from Darren Hardy and is
Okay.
around the same topic. And Darren is great at, I think, from his book, The Compound Effect, one of the invisible threads in that book is kind of your focus. Where is your focus? What are you focusing on? Where is your attention? And that's one of the quotes from the same book. He says, do not mistake movement for achievement, activity for productivity, and rushing around for results.
Yeah, I love it. Great quote. Great quote.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to how can you ensure that your own priorities and growth are taking front seat, either today, this week, this month, or every day. because sometimes we tend to prioritize everybody else around us because it feels good. It's back to people pleasing and, being part of a community, of a team, being a good leader. But long term, it comes back to actually work against us, because
Right.
what we think as being great practice of us prioritizing everybody else and us being the last, it actually goes against if you were to prioritize yourself first. I think sometimes, from personal experience of working with clients, whenever clients have to put themselves first, guilt always shows up there. It's almost like, yeah, but I feel really guilty if I have to put myself first. And actually, when you look at it from a different lens, by you being first, or by you prioritizing your priorities first, you're actually being generous. Because if you're taking care of the things that really matter to you, then you'll be able to do even more, add even more value,
Yeah,
and
I
create even
agree.
more opportunities for the people around you, rather than you being the firefighter putting out fires
Mm-hmm.
that are nothing to do with you. So your business is kind of on hold
Yeah.
while you're helping everybody else. So therefore, you'd never be able to do the things that you want to do on a bigger scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that comes to mind, because again, I believe this is very important. And you talk about guilt. The other one that comes up when I'm dealing with clients is selfishness. They,
Yes,
they
I'm
feel
being selfish.
that's right. And they don't want to be selfish, right? They've got, as entrepreneurs, they have big hearts and they want to go out and serve as many people as possible, but they forget to put themselves first. And they feel that if they do, then they feel guilty, like you mentioned, or they feel like somehow they're being selfish. And again, I love how you put it, because I think nothing could be further from the truth, right? When you take care of yourself, that empowers you to go out and serve more people, because you're happier, you're smarter, you're wiser, you've got more time, you've got the resources that you can now share with clients in your community, right? So I love that.
Totally. And if you don't, then long term you cannot sustain doing
That's
what
right.
you're doing. At certain point, you'll have to go and get a job.
Yeah.
You'll have to give up on your dream, because you can't sustain what you're doing long term.
Yeah. If you don't burn out first, right? Because it could turn into illness as well, right?
Yes, they're all linked, isn't it?
Yeah,
All going
absolutely.
together.
Yeah.
And the next thing that I want to bring into this topic as well is the myth of multitasking. So
Oh, yeah.
although multitasking is a myth,
Yep.
self-induced multitasking is still our number one distraction today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got, again, this time I don't have the name of the research, but I read it, that it's been proven that our brain cannot run two cognitive processes at the same time. So what we actually call multitasking is just us switching very quickly from one task to another.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. And again, that's something that, as I was struggling very early on, growing, myself and my business and learning, because, you hear, oh, you got to become efficient at multitasking, and the more you can do, the better it gets. And so I forget the gentleman that was teaching this concept, but he ran the class through a really cool exercise where he had you write out a statement. I believe it was something like multitasking is a lie.
Yeah.
He had you write out that statement, and then and he timed you, right? How quickly could you do it?
Was it Jack Canfield by any chance?
Maybe that's where
Maybe
it
it was Jack.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah.
was Jack. Yeah. And then next he had you do the same exercise, but he had you alternate letters and lines, right? So from writing multitasking is a lie to a number. So
Mm.
you'd start with M and then 1, right? And then so on and so forth. And then he would time that as well. And then when you look at the data, it took longer. It wasn't done as efficiently. It wasn't done as well, right? So again, he was just proving this whole concept that multitasking is a lie. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And when you think about self-induced multitasking, what comes to mind?
Self-induced multitasking. That's interesting. I've never looked at it from that perspective. I guess off the top of my head, it would be uh, taking on too much that I've put on myself on my own plate, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
self-induced workload that isn't going to be done effectively because there's too much on my plate.
exactly. And sometimes it's like doing several things at the same time simultaneously. So you might be, I don't know, speaking to someone, while at the same time scanning through email list or looking through your diary, or like I'm having this conversation with you and then maybe I have my mobile next to me and at the same time I'm trying to kind of scan through my messages. So it's also like self-induced multitasking can be things that you think would make you more efficient, but
Mm-hmm.
actually what the self-induced multitasking does, it's not only making you less productive, but it also contributes to you losing your ability to fully focus.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost seems like you're not able to have this 100% focus in the moment on the task at hand, one thing at a time that you could complete, from start to finish, or at least complete the step that you've given yourself in the amount of time that you're doing. Because some projects, you can't complete them, let's say, in a meeting or in a given day or in a given session. But at least like if it's, actionable action step, it can be done if you fully focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the idea that if the focus is the foundation to success, then if you learn to control your attention or what you focus on, then you can finally control everything. You control your life, you control your success, you control your business, because the whoever controls your attention controls you.
Yes. Very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a powerful way to look at it.
So I want you to consider what would change if you focus on one priority at a time and not having your attention being fractured into so many things. So your full attention
Mm-hmm.
on one thing. And I have a great metaphor for that. I think it's Steve Chandler that says that imagine if you're the sun shining here, there, everywhere. It's kind of like the rays are just spread everywhere. It's almost like your attention is fractured. The sun rays are just fractured everywhere. And yes, you get a bit of heat and light and warmth. But what happens when you take a magnifying glass and you fully focus the sun rays on one single point, on one
Mm-hmm.
single priority? You get fire.
Yeah.
It burns, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I think, what comes up for me when you think about focus is so many benefits, right? You're going to have a better finished product. It's going to get done faster. It's more efficient. You're going to enjoy it more. You're going to have less stress in your life. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it allows you, thinking from a real estate investor, business person, um, it allows you the freedom to enjoy the fruits of your labor because you're not splitting up your time and attempting to do too many things and creating overwhelm and frustration and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a simple concept in theory, but I think once implemented, it's very, very powerful and very, very liberating.
Definitely. And back to like from theory to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I do it and the way some of my clients do it. So for example, if you find yourself being distracted or if you find yourself in the consuming mode, so you have the creating mode where you're actually working on your business, creating the stuff that you want, moving forward towards what you want to achieve, and then you have the consuming mode, which is just consuming. I mean, it seems like you're busy. At the end of the day, yeah, you probably know more, but you haven't really done anything with it. You're just consuming
Right.
stuff. So how do you switch into that creative mode? How do you switch into that fully focused mode? And it's very simple. Like some of the easiest way to do it is just having some question to ask yourself that would resonate with you. So the questions that work for me is, what do I want to create? And you could do that. What do I want to create right now? Or what do I want to create today? What do I want to create this month, this week, this year? So you could take that question and just, zoom in on that based on the time scale that you want to apply it to it. So if you're planning daily, weekly, monthly, you could take that question and just focus on, because that helps you zoom in on your number one priority or your top 3 priorities. What do you want to create? What is it? And then the next one is, what is my number one priority? What is my top priority right now or today or this week? Again, you're zooming in even further. And another one is, where is my focus? So for example, let's say you're busy, being distracted, everybody has a demand on your attention, and you're feeling like the day is zooming by, but you haven't got any further on the things that you plan to do. It's great to pause and just say, where is my focus right now? What am I focusing on?
Yeah.
It's just raising your awareness.
Yeah. And I believe it was Tony Robbins who said the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your questions.
Yeah.
And so something as simple as asking these powerful questions and really helping you focus in, I think another key element that I want to add here too, because these are very practical and very useful, but I think what makes them even more powerful is when you do it consistently, right? You're constantly going back to that and regaining your focus, because we live in a world that can be very distracting, right? So
definitely.
but yeah, those
24/7. Yeah. So consistency, I think it's a key element into everything that we do, because consistency always wins over intensity. So let's say you go full out on a project, but if you only go for a short period of time, you won't be able to maintain it long term. So let's say you're putting in 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week, you won't be able to maintain that for a very long time. But if you're doing something, even if it's less, but consistently, day in, day out, long term, they compound. And you've got that compound effect, that domino effect that just snowballs and it builds up on it.
Yeah. Back to Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect. Yeah. Perfect.
They're all linked together.
Yeah.
So another, so if you want to take this focus and how do you practice staying fully focused, and how do you practice your ability to concentrate on your number one priority? If you want to take that one step further, the practical way that I do that is I create a total focus session. So based on the research, it's been proven that we are more productive for 90 minutes at a time. After 90 minutes, your concentration just kind of drops. So there is a curve. So it starts like growing, and then you peak, and then it slows down. So it takes around 90 minutes for you to go full cycle. And even if you do like 3 hours or 5 hours in a row, you may be sitting for 5 hours, but you're not being really productive because your concentration dips after 90 minutes. So what does a total focus 90-minute session involve? So the way I do it is I carve a 90-minute window in my diary. So I have that in my diary where I know, like, I block out 90 minutes and that's my session. And then it's creating that silence zone by minimizing all possible distractions. So either you letting your team members know that for those 90 minutes you won't be available, either having, your email reminders switched off, just minimizing your distractions. So everybody knows that for 90 minutes you won't be available. And this is crucial because the research that we looked at the beginning is, if we know that breaking our concentration takes 25 minutes to regain it, you don't want to lose that during that 90 minutes. So you want to have everything at hand during that session that doesn't break your concentration. So anything that you need to work on, depending on whatever you're going to use that session for. And the other thing is actually using a timer and sticking with it, because I think it's harder to start something because we procrastinate and do anything but. But if you have the time and say, look, it's 90 minutes, I'm just going to do 90 minutes on that, whatever it is. And you put the time, and you know when that timer goes off, whatever you're working on, you're just going to stop. You're just going to save everything and leave it. That really helps, because if you do that a few times, then your mind realizes that you're really serious about that. It's just going to be 90 minutes. You're not tricking yourself into doing things. Because I think in the past, especially if you're procrastinating, you'd say, I'm just going to do that for an hour. But then once you start it and you got the taste of it, 5 hours down the line, you're still working on it. So next time you want to do it, you know that that 1 hour is actually more than 1 hour. But sticking to a particular time slot regularly, consistently, builds that mindset that you'd only do it for a certain period of time. So that means that other priorities that are waiting for you are going to be taken care of. And then use that session on your top 3 priorities, or your number 3 priority, or your number 1 priority, whatever it is that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fully focus session or total focus session that I love doing. And I mean, you could also look at periods that you're most productive. So for me, these are the mornings. So I'm most productive in the morning. And if you wake up really early, you could just do total focus straight in the morning, 90 minutes, on your number 1 priority for that day. And it's a great boost to the day, because before you started anything else, if you just put in 90 minutes towards your number 1 priority, it feels really good. And it sets you up for winning that day. You already feel like you've won that day, because before anything else, you've already done 90 minutes towards your number 1 priority, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I like it. Carry that momentum forward throughout the rest of the day.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what are some of the practical ways that you practice being focused and your ability to concentrate on your number 1 priority?
Yeah, so I do something very similar to what you just mentioned, where I'm blocking out key chunks of time, and then I eliminate all distractions. I shut off my cell phone. I let my team know that I'm not to be distracted, and then I can focus on the tasks at hand. And for me, the tasks that I focus on fall into my 3 key areas of focus. So every time I'm doing that, I'm not being disrupted. And I'm also focusing on the 3 areas that I enjoy doing and that I like doing. So I find that is easier for me, because if it's enjoyable, then I don't mind setting that time aside and doing it, right? And doing it consistently over and over. So that's what I do. The interesting part that you mentioned is that 90-minute cycle, right? So that's something that I'm going to look at adding in, because I don't block out 90 minutes. Usually I'll block out a 1 or 2 hour window, but I'll hone in and test the 90-minute window.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with, I mean, the concept that I practice throughout my coaching is working on the 3 elements, the body, mind, and soul. So it ties in with the body, with the idea that if you're sitting for more than 3 hours, it actually has quite a lot of side effects on your body. It affects your posture, it slows down your metabolism, it messes up with your insulin levels, and just like everything else that could go wrong goes wrong, because we are not creatures designed to be sitting for long periods of time. We've been designed to be really active. But the way things are moving, especially with the technology, we're always in front of a screen, we're always sitting.
Yeah.
So again, it ties in that, you know, your attention, your focus is linked to your level of activity. So if you're sitting for a long period of time, your concentration automatically drops.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to build in some anything. It could be like stretches, maybe put a song and dance, or maybe do some breathing exercises or some yoga stretches, or just like go for a walk, or just go and make a cup of tea just after 90 minutes, you know, just stretch your legs for a bit. And that's really great. It just breaks down that routine, I think, for sitting for a very long period of times, and it feels like you've been working on that all day, or we tend to say, oh, I've been busy all day, or I've been working on this all day. And especially like if you take it to the extreme, I mean, there are some of us that would have the breakfast, lunch, and dinner just at the desk, in front of computer. They have hardly moved since they've sat in the morning till it's time to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. And I like combining the mind, body, and soul, right? Because I know for me personally, when I'm looking at certain ways that I can improve my productivity and my focus, I never look at it from a lens of how does this affect mind, body, and soul, right? I just look at it from a purely business perspective. And of course, other elements of our life are very important as well, because if we don't take care of our health, then ultimately the business suffers too. So I
Exactly.
like that looking at it from that angle.
It's one of those holistic approaches, but I think it's as you said, we have the foundation on which we build everything else, and health is one of the main ones there. I mean, you've got the body, but again, you've got the mind, which is the whole mindset and belief system. Then you've got the soul, which, I mean, we all have different belief systems, but you
Right.
have to have that connection to the bigger source, something that recharges you, something that keeps you grounded, and gives you that purpose to
Mm-hmm.
go on. And it's almost like you're coming from a bigger place than just yourself. You're doing something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gives you that inspiration, motivation, keeps you grounded
Yeah.
to continue.
Absolutely.
And to wrap it all up, the last piece of the puzzle in this topic is, how do I choose my top 3 priorities? So this is something that I work with clients on. Like, they have so many great ideas, or they have so many projects, and they all seem to be quite important, and they want to do all of them. And getting it down to top 3 seems to be quite challenging. And I've shared that in our group as well, but I thought I would share that activity, or we could kind of go through it together. So it's like a little table, and the idea is that if you're struggling to pick your 3 vital activities, or your 3 vital priorities, 3 to focus on, it's a tool that you could use it for. So I've used it myself, I've used it with my clients, and it really helps you streamline and evaluate what you should focus on. And you do it quite on a logical level, rather than just like intuition and gut feeling. And the idea is that you take a piece of paper, and we're going to make a table. So the head of the table, you need for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 columns. So you need about 7 columns at the top. And the first column is your activity, or your project, or your priorities, depending on what you're using the tool for. So that's what the first column is for. Then the second column is you rating the importance of that priority, or that activity, or that project. And the importance, we're going to use a 1 to 10 scale, so 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. And then the next column, we're going to rate your level of interest. Okay. Again, on those things. The third one is ease of learning and implementation, because there are certain things that maybe involve a certain level of skill that maybe you have to learn or implement. And again, how easy is it for you to make that happen? The next one is the level of return, so ROI, return of your investment, return of your on your time. And the last one is how appropriate is this priority, or this project, or this activity for the current stage of your business, or for the current stage of whatever you are doing. Because there are certain things that may seem relevant, may seem interesting, but they may not be appropriate for the stage that you're currently on. And then at the end, you just have the total score. So what you do, you start by listing all your priorities, all your competing priorities, and then you just rate them. Yeah. So if you'd like, we could have a go and list like a few priorities, or just go through the priorities that you've chosen as your 3 priorities. Okay. And then we could just rate them together and see the final score at the end. Because the idea is that once you've rated all of them, you'll choose the top high, the ones that scored scored the highest, so the top 3 scores, and then you see what surprised you. Because when you do it in that way, some of the activities that maybe you haven't thought are that important might come up higher than the ones that you thought you'd pick if you just to pick 3 activities or 3 projects.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah. Let's go through it.
Yeah, great. So list your top priorities right now. So start by listing them. So pick a few of them.
Okay. So as far as daily tasks that I have going on today.
So it depends on what you want to use it for. So if you want to do it on the activities that you're doing, so let's say the activities for the business.
Okay.
So what are your competing activities right now? You could do it on that. Or if you want to do it on your, if you want to use the tool to shortlist your top priorities, you'd kind of list all your competing priorities that you're interested in or you'd like to do. Or if you want to do it for projects, kind of what are some of the projects that you'd like to start running or invest your time in.
Okay,
so I think first is determining what you want to use it for.
Right. Okay. So this may be a little different for me than perhaps the average, because I have focus and chunked time. So for example, today I have a 2-hour window set aside to work solely with you. No distractions, nothing else. When we're done here, then I have a coaching client coming in, and I have, again, a 2-hour window set aside to focus purely with him. When I'm done there, I'm going to go meet 2 more coaching clients at an investment property that they're looking at buying. So I'm going to help them analyze that deal. So that's essentially my afternoon. And so it's already really, really focused and really structured.
Okay, so let's approach it a different way. So just for the example purposes, so we know how to use the tool. So thinking about the business that you're currently running, what are some of the top activities within your business that keeps your business moving forward?
Okay, so sales, marketing,
yeah,
property management, scheduling renovations, accounting, legal.
Accounting, legal, yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the activities that you'd like to maybe start doing that you're not doing yet?
Out of those, the only ones that I've already done it a little bit, but that I want to ramp up and do more of is the sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing. Okay. So if we take sales and marketing, what are some of the key activities under that heading, sales and marketing? Because that's like a big draw. But if we were to unpack more, what are some of the key activities under sales and marketing?
So creating Facebook ads.
Yeah.
One, advertising on Kijiji.
Yeah.
Local papers, signage, doing more local meetups or networking groups.
Yeah.
Creating opt-in pages or lead capture pages online to build my mailing list. Also creating email autoresponders and automated emails that would go out to the mailing list. So that would be
brilliant. Out of those that you've listed, are you running all of them right now?
Yeah, to
a certain degree.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's use the tool for that. So so we've got the activities. So the first column is the activities. So we're going to take them one by one. So let's say Facebook ads. How important is it for your business for you to run the Facebook ad on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, my belief is that it's going to be extremely effective and important, but I don't have a ton of data because it's something relatively new to me.
Yeah.
But based on other entrepreneurs that have done it successfully, I would think it's probably a 10.
A 10. Jeff, we're taking a snapshot, so your opinion might change, But the rates that I'm asking you, the scores that I'm asking you to give right now is literally your opinion at this moment in time.
Okay.
So if you were to do this exercise, let's say tomorrow or in a month's time, your opinion might change. But like how you feel right now, right this minute. So how important is for you to run Facebook ads this moment right now today?
So I think it's relatively important. So I'm going to stay with the 10.
Brilliant. Okay. And then in terms of the interest level, like what is your interest level in running these ads? And the idea is almost like, so that might be an activity that's quite important to do, but what's your interest in doing that activity on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably about a 6.
6. Great. The next one is ease of learning and implementation, just like putting it in action.
Yeah. Probably about a 6 as well.
6. ROI, level of return of investment, in terms of the time and money that you spend on them.
Once it's effectively running, I would put that at a 10.
But as it is of right now, this moment?
The actual ROI? Oh, yeah.
So,
gotcha. So,
because it might be very important, but let's say like today, you're running an ad, your level of investment on your time and money, if you were to run an ad?
Yeah, maybe a 6.
6?
At this point.
Okay. And how appropriate it is for your current stage of your business to run the ads?
A 6 again.
A 6. Great. So these are the, so we've got 4 6s, that's 24 plus 10, that's 34. So we've got 34 for the Facebook ads so far. Next one is advertising on Kijiji, you said, yeah? And local papers.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go through that again very quickly. So how important it is to run this activity?
I would say a 10.
Okay. Your interest?
3.
Okay. Ease of implementation or ease of learning?
Probably an 8.
Yeah. ROI, level of return?
Probably an 8 as well.
And how appropriate it is for the current stage of your business?
10.
10. Okay. So we've got 2 10s, that's 20s, plus 2 8s, that's 16. So that would be 36 plus 3, 39. Okay. Next one is, I think you said meetups and running networking groups. Yeah.
Yep.
So how important is it? 10. Level of interest?
10.
10. Ease of learning and implementation?
8.
8. The ROI of doing this activity, return on?
I would say 10.
10. And how appropriate is it for the current stage?
10.
10. So that's actually 48 for the meetups and the networking events. And then the next one is the lead pages. Okay. Running lead pages.
Yeah.
So importance?
Importance would be 10.
Interest?
6.
6. Implementation? Ease of
6.
6. Level of return?
I would say 10.
10. And how appropriate it is for the current stage?
10.
10. So we've got 30 plus 12, 42 for that one. And I think one of them you said email auto replies.
Yeah, so that would kind of tie in with...
Tie within, yeah. But you get the idea. I mean, we put stuff, but let's say we've got those key activities. So right now, the top one would be the meetups and networking, running meetups and networking groups. So that came at 48. Okay. Followed by lead pages at 42. And then ads on Kijiji and local papers at 39.
Okay.
So it gives you a snapshot in terms of like order of priority. So are there anything that surprised you? Are there any surprises within that ranking?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the tool that can be used on rating maybe projects, rating your top priorities or activities. And if you have too many things and you find it quite difficult to choose, then you could look at it that way. So for example, running a coaching practice, there are so many activities in running coaching practice. I mean, you could become a speaker to generate clients, you could run courses, you could do one-on-one sessions, you could run workshops, you could partner up with joint ventures, with people that maybe have access to your clients, and you could have partnerships with them. So out of all activities, if you would like to know which one of those activities would be the most appropriate for your current stage of the business, or what should you focus on right now, then you could rate all of them.
Yeah.
And then see which one of those you should prioritize, rather than, you're just starting and you want to do all of them. You want to create a course, and you want to become a speaker, and you want to write a book, and you want to do one-on-one sessions, and you're doing it all at once, and then your focus is just scattered, and your energy is being distracted.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think that's a very powerful tool. Yeah.
Great. So that's the end.
Awesome. I think that was very powerful, and certainly will be very, very helpful to implement, the strategies and the tools, and helping gain clarity and focus. And at the end of the day, one of the things that's very important for me is the liberation, right? And we touched upon having only so many hours in a day. And I think these practical tools that you've shared are really going to help people gain that focus, gain that clarity, build the momentum, and ultimately create a business and a lifestyle that they love.
Exactly.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.